We have a new video game to movie adaptation and it's Five Nights at Freddy's. Is it good? Let's find out right now.
He's coming.
Welcome back to the channel, everyone. I hope you're doing well. Today I'm going to be reviewing Five Nights at Freddy's. I'm going to be talking about no spoilers, so don't really worry about that. I won't be going into too much details, but I want to read you a quick plot synopsis. A troubled security guard begins working at Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria. While spending his first night on the job, he realizes the late shift at Freddy's won't be so easy to make it through. I also wanted to preface before we started, I don't really know any of the lore. I know there's a lot of really big ideas behind this franchise of games and all that, and I really only played the one major mobile app game when I was pretty young, and that was many years ago, and that's all I've really known about this franchise. I went into the trailer not really expecting much, not really knowing much. I thought the trailers would look pretty interesting, and I will say this is a pretty interesting movie for a non franchise fan, because I think if you're a big fan of this franchise and the games and all that, I think you'll have a really fun time with this one and you'll like this one a lot. I've seen a lot of critics bash this one. I think it has like a 40-30% Rotten Tomatoes, which sucks because I think it's the only good Halloween horror movie I have seen in theaters this month, with this and The Exorcist Believer, and I think this is much better. This also comes from Blumhouse, and I want to get to the good first. I think the production design is really off the charts here. I loved how Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria looked. It kind of just reminded me of Chuck E. Cheese. I knew it was going to remind me of it, but the production design is really good. I love how everything looked on the inside of this place, and the animatronics of Freddy Fazbear, Chica, and Bonnie were just so magnificent to look at. I've heard stories from people on the set of this that they actually saw the animatronics wink when they're not actually using them, which is pretty interesting. But they actually looked really real in the movie. Looked like real animatronics, like people were actually in the costumes, and that's so cool. I just loved how they made them. Loved how they made them walk and made them move. Just the small movements, the small camera movements too. You have them wink. You have them little movements just a little bit with their arms, with their legs. I think the animatronics worked a lot in this movie, and as I said, I think this is a fun movie. I think a lot of people are going to find this to be a fun time. If you're a fan of the franchise, if you're not a fan, there's a lot to take in here, and I think a lot of it is very fun. And I will say the cast is really great. My two favorite parts were Josh Hutcherson and Matthew Lillard. We don't get to really see them in big movies going to theaters this day. I think I saw Josh Hutcherson in a weird direct to streaming movie, but they haven't been in big theater movies. We haven't seen them in a long time. Josh Hutcherson is known for Hunger Games. We haven't seen him for a long time in a major film. I thought he did great here. I think he's a really good leading man in a movie. Matthew Lillard is of course awesome. He has a really interesting role here. And I will say the score of this movie is pretty nice, pretty subtle score. It's a low budget movie too. I think it was made for $25 million before marketing. So this movie is easily going to make its budget back. It's easily going to make a lot of profit for Blumhouse. I think they're going to do a lot of sequels for this. It would be pretty interesting to see how this universe develops. I would like to see a sequel. I like the sequel to be a little bit better because I did think this is disappointing, but I don't think it's bad. Let's get to the bad next. I thought it was a little bit hard to connect to some of these characters because you have Josh Hutcherson who plays Mike, you have Abby in this film. I didn't really connect to them at all. It took me a little bit to really like them as characters. I thought they were a little bit too passive. I thought, it's a little bit hard to connect to them because I thought the narrative of this story was a little bit messy. The story overall went in so many different places. I wasn't really following it throughout the first 30 minutes of this film. It took me a little bit time to get to connect to the story, so I really couldn't connect to any major characters in this. I will say the script also isn't great, but I wasn't really going into this expecting a fantastic script. I'm not going into this expecting Killers of the Flower Moon script level good. I'm expecting just a fun time, and I got that, but I do have to admit the script really wasn't great because it was hard to connect to some of these characters that I really wanted to connect to them though. And I will say this movie moves really fast. It's an hour and 50 minutes long, but it really only felt like an hour and a half kind of movie. I wish we kind of slowed it down, got to know our characters a little bit more, and got to know the story and the lore more for the non-fans, because I didn't really get to know all the Easter eggs in it that I think real fans will know, which is pretty interesting. I will like to watch some videos on the Easter eggs in this movie, but I will say I had a fun time with it. But I will say also my last bad remark, I think this should have been rated R. Blumhouse, they make a lot of PG-13 movies to get a lot more audiences into them, like Megan and all that, than they had a rated R digital cut. I think this one should have been rated R because there are some violent scenes in here, but I think they could have gone even more violent. I don't think it's even scary at all. I think the this could have been a very scary movie, and I think I would have liked it more if it was more scary and rated R, because I think movies sometimes need to be rated R to go to like the X factor of scary and just have better jump scares and have better like kill moments for these weird animatronic characters. So I will say I think it should have been rated R, but I had a fun time. I think a lot of people are going to go flock out to this movie. And, Five Nights at Freddy's is a big name, big brand. They've done a lot of big marketing for this movie. I think it's going to open up like 50 million opening weekend just for domestically. That's going to be huge. As I said, the budget is very small. So I'm going to see if they make a sequel to this one. But I did have a fun time with this one. I will say it was disappointing, but I didn't really know all the lore. I'm not like a true fan. So Five Nights at Freddy's, I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10. I'm going to go watch this again tomorrow, so I'm going to see if those thoughts hold up. But I will say I will rewatch this one every Halloween. I think it's fun. I like the cast. Josh Hutcherson is back in a big role, and the animatronics and production design are awesome. So make sure you leave a like on this video if you did enjoy. Let me know, what did you guys think of the movie, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.